Hello, fellow planty people of the internets. Welcome to my new setup. Hi everybody, it's me, Jen, also calling myself the Leafy Geek here and also on Instagram. And you might notice things look a little bit different. I have a new filming setup, and I'm also not wearing my glasses right now because I just got a ring light and I don't know how to deal with this. YouTubers, any tips or tricks, super appreciated. Leave them in the comments if you care to, but I don't know how to get rid of that. This is my first video in a couple of months, and without going into too much detail, mainly because it's kind of my private life and I just kind of want to keep it that way. It's taken me some time to get back in front of the camera, and there's nothing I don't think wrong with that. I know YouTubers take breaks on here all of the time. Some people kind of feel like they have to produce content in order to keep up with the algorithm, and that makes total sense, especially if this is a way that you supplement your income. I don't. I don't make any money on these videos, and that's okay with me, and it's never really been about that for me. Just speaking personally, obviously, you know, people make brilliant content on here, and it's worth a paycheck for them, so absolutely kudos to them, but it's not been that for me, or it hasn't kind of gotten to that level for me yet, if it ever will. But I've been struggling, guys. It hasn't been the best couple of months in terms of my stress level and just the demands on my time. Some of you guys know that my hound dog, who is laying behind me over there, she had surgery this March. And, you know, that took a lot out of her, and it took a lot out of me as well. Her recovery was a 12-week one, so not for the faint of heart. She is 100% normal. She is back to full sprinting strength and just the happiest dog ever again. I never really rebounded from that time that I did take off. I wasn't posting regular content at that time either, and I just never rebounded. And this is, I know, has been a stressful year for all of us. It's been a stressful year for creatives. I completely feel that. I understand that to the core of myself. I am also a novelist. Some of you guys might know that, and a poet. So I write poetry, novels, short stories, etc. Trying to publish. And that just, the creative fountain for me is dried up at this time in my life. And that's super stressful for me too, in addition to all of my pressures and new learning experiences with my day job. So there's just been a lot going on. Everybody is fine. I am fine. My puppers is fine. My family is healthy and fine, thankfully. It's just been a tough time to make the time to sit in front of the camera and film. And it hurts, and I wish that I had like an endless, unlimited supply of creativity. It just didn't pan out that way. This is turning into an awfully long disclaimer. I hope you guys are still watching. I'd really just like to film something. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of give you a state of the, almost like a State of the Union address. But it's mainly just kind of the state of my indoor jungle at this point. I've posted a lot of gardening content on my other social media, Instagram, etc. And the garden was a wonderful experience this season. It was an absolute delight to work in and enjoy. But I really haven't done a good kind of overview or tour of my apartment and the plants that I have in here. So that's something I want to do tonight. So we'll just take a peek at some things, and I've got some new stuff going on, some things that are really exciting in here for me, and then I do have some not so great, some anti-success stories as well. That I'll be honest. I'll share it with you. We'll take a little gander around my apartment, and I'll show you what's going on. So, thank you so much for watching, and I really am appreciative of those of you who've stuck around. I've checked my follower count, and it hasn't like bottomed out, which is amazing. So thank you guys for sticking with me. And yeah, let's take a look at some houseplants, okay? All right, we might as well just start in this plant room / spare bedroom / new filming studio. I kind of took over my spare bedroom closet here, and hi Hound, you gonna go on a tour with me? We're gonna take a plant tour. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. So I did put a writing desk in here. So this kind of serves a dual purpose. It's my writing desk when I'm working on my authory projects, and then it's also a filming space now for me. Due to this thing, the ring light, dead plant right here. Yeah, there might be a lot of this on this video. Moving on to another tragic corner of this room. So I had to take the grow lights that I had perched on these shelves. And mainly I needed to use them in another space, and also I thought they were pretty ugly in here. They just didn't fit the vibe that I was going for. So I took them down and figured maybe, just maybe, I could stick some ZZ plants up here and they would do okay. And that has not been the case. Not at all. You can see we've got some, I mean, this one's in better shape. This Zenzi, but not by much. Curly leaves. I don't water it too often. I kind of try and keep it at the watering level that the light situation it's in would require. It's not like in total darkness. The grow lights that I have are on for most of the day, and then it gets some really good west-southwestern aspect light in the afternoon. So, I don't know, just not happy there. So I might have to move that one. ZZ Raven's dead. Just straight up dead. Sorry, Raven. So now I'm kind of over by the window here in my plant room. It's mainly the Hoya Room now. There aren't too many other varieties of plants in here. But over on this side, I have a staghorn fern that I ended up not mounting. My mounted staghorn fern died very quickly this summer. It just was a sudden, steep downhill decline for that thing. So I had picked up another staghorn fern. I think I got this one from Gabriella's Plants, and it grew a basil frond. Grew a shield. So I think it's happy. Just have it in this really cool planter pot. This is a vintage pot. Has a pretty sizable drainage hole in it too. So I think this is doing all right. It is dry though. I water this when the staghorn, or when the moss in it is fairly dry to the touch. And then I moved my terrarium in here that has, this was a cutting of Philodendron Brantianum, which is doing fairly well in there. And then I also have a rando Hoya cutting. I forget what type of Hoya that is. But then I also have my Hoya imbricata in there, which is still going strong, and it's produced a bunch of new leaves over in this corner. It's loving its life. So it's happy there. I'm happy with it. I like that corner. Then just a few varieties of Hoya, just a few. I'll do a more in-depth Hoya tour again, kind of an update, but I did lose some. I should mention that. I did lose some Hoya this summer, and I think, I'm not positive, but I thought it was due to spider mites. My Hoya Bangongoi is gone. And then there were a couple of other varieties that were not doing so hot that I think I moved into my quarantine space. But this one might be on its way out too. And so the reason I say I think it might have been spider mites is one day I came into this room and just saw a bunch of webbing, or what looked like webbing, on several of these Hoya. But upon closer inspection, I found teeny tiny spiders on them. Not spider mites, they were spiders. So I ended up treating them for pests and see what they did. Some of them did okay, some of them have kind of bounced back, but the Bangongoi did not. So I don't know. Pretty sad about that. That was a nice one, but got quite a few going on here. I just also recently repotted a few that really desperately needed it. Like, needed it. This guy, this Melliflua, definitely needed some repotting. And they all just got a watering, so they might look a little weird or a little sad. But overall, I'm not too disappointed with how things are going in this room. Aside from that weird pest scare. Not too sure how that's gonna end up, but I want to show you guys my Curtisii because look at this gal. Just did the thing this summer. This one was not afraid to put out new growth this grow season, so pretty happy about that one. And then I repotted a bunch over here, so they're looking a little sad. We'll see how they do. They were looking sad, and then I realized I should probably repot them before kind of, I mean, we're pushing it. We're at the end of the grow season, but just wanted to give it a whirl. Oh, missed it. Shoot. I wish I could have gotten this on camera, but it looks like my Lacunosa just finished blooming. That's fun. Now I have flower buds all over my floor. That's gross. So yeah, we'll kind of see how these guys do. A lot of these smaller ones got repotted. They got up potted just a little bit. I don't like to put my Hoya in too large of pots, but some of them were long overdue for repotting. So that's what I did this past weekend. You can see that some of these guys are really not looking too happy, so I'm going to have to do some root checks here in a bit just to see kind of what the state of affairs is for some of these. But yeah, overall, things are okay in here. This whole shelf now is strictly Hoya. And these shelves are from IKEA. But yeah. Overall, not too mad. There's a mess right there. Yeah. I love this room. I really do. I should spend more time in it. Gotta get creative. So this is my bedroom. I'm not going to show you too much of this room because it is a pigsty. Pigsty? It's a sty. It's messy. But I did want to show you this. It's kind of an odd setup. I'm not like committed to it, but it is my plastic covered greenhouse that I bought for this last growing season when I started moving some of my seedlings outdoors. Gradually, I had a greenhouse and then I also had a cold frame out there in my yard. So this was outside. I've cleaned it and since moved it in to give my growing begonia collection a little boost in humidity, which has seemed to be, it's working out pretty well. They seem to be enjoying it. But yeah, I've got quite a few. How many begonias do I have now? 4, 5. 5 on the top shelf. 7 on the middle shelf. And this is my newest one. That is my Begonia pavonina. I think that's what it's called. Let's take a peek. Yeah, Begonia pavonina. This is the one that looks blue in dark, kind of offset light. Pretty. This is also my first rhizomatous begonia. I don't grow any of these. All of the other ones in here are cane begonias. Or shrub-like begonias, I think is another term for them. But not bad. So yeah, I've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is 5 plus 8? Oh, this video is terrible. So I have 15 begonia species in here. Species and or cultivars. And then at the bottom, I have 2 extra little plants who like that humidity boost. You can see I've got a vanilla vine or vanilla orchid back there, vanilla planifolia, which is thoroughly enjoying this boost of humidity. And then I have this beautiful creature. This is my Path orchid, and it's a hybrid. Let me grab the thingy, the tag. So it is a Path venustum brainchild crossed with a Dougalskin, green destiny. So whatever that means, orchid people, that's the combo. Seems like a pretty cool hybrid. But yeah, I wish I could kind of show you the bloom without impacting too much here. There you go. That's a good shot of it. It's just a really neat slipper variety of orchid. That's what these are called. Funny enough, this is a fun fact. I live in Minnesota and our state flower is the lady slipper, which is also an orchid that looks like this. It's related to this particular variety of orchid. And I love the leaves on this guy. They've got this really cool patterning on them. Mottled greens. It's just a really cool looking plant. And I totally was not expecting this thing to bloom at all, whatsoever. I had purchased it for the foliage. I just thought the foliage was really cool. I was like, if it blooms, it blooms. Meh. Didn't even try. It wasn't even in here when it bloomed. It was sitting out on a buffet table in my living room. So like regular household humidity. And it was under a grow light. It wasn't even by a window. That's what happened. Pretty cool. So yeah, this is my little humidity tent for these begonia type creatures who enjoy being wet. Okay, this is kind of a fun development. I have converted this rando, it was a laundry room, but I don't have a washer and a dryer, so it was just a random storage room for crap. And now it is serving now as a quarantine room slash plant supply space, but it will be my seed starting space as well when it comes time to start seeds for the garden for next grow season, 2022. But right now it's housing all of the plants that were out on my patio this summer, right in here, hanging out, re-acclimating a little bit. And I'm also going to treat them for any possible pests that they may have picked up while they spent time outside. But these guys had pretty good growth, I'd say. The succulents are looking really nice. And then I've got these ferns. They're Boston ferns, so I'm not holding out too much hope that they're going to make it through the winter in here, but they are variegated Boston ferns. They're really cool looking. I didn't have the heart. I think I purchased them at the onset of like summer from a garden center, thinking they're just going to be outdoor plants. I'll trash them at the end of the season, but I couldn't. So we'll try. We'll give them the best possible life, and if they choose to live it, that's fine. But yeah, the rest of these guys will hopefully find space indoors again. My pickle plant grew really quite a bit while hanging out outdoors. My cacti look pretty good as far as cacti can look in Minnesota. This aloe's looking okay. It's rebounding a bit. It got a little dry. Things are going okay in here. That aloe is phenomenal. I love that mountain aloe. Actually, I think this was like featured in my second ever YouTube video where I potted it up. I had just gotten it. So if you want to check that one out, I will link that in the cards for you. You're welcome. But yeah, pretty cool. It's a little bit messy in here because I just did a bunch of repotting. But yeah, this space will be really useful, I feel. I don't even miss having a washer and dryer in here. This is much more my speed. So we are now in my living room, which is still pretty jungly. It also is the domain of Hound Dog. This is her space as well. So yeah, that's her little bed. And she leaves my plants alone. Some of you might know that already, but she's never messed with them, which is awesome. I lucked out in that department. But I still try and keep things relatively out of her purview, but she just totally ignores these things. So I have a bunch of Hoya on here. This whole space I kind of revamped a little bit. I had all of my begonias on here at one point, but I mean, it's winter, or we're getting into winter. Had to do some rearranging. I didn't feel like they'd do the best out here. I just thought they could really benefit from that extra boost of humidity that the tent will provide them. So that's where they landed. So out here now I have my jungle cacti, most of them, and I did lose some jungle cacti to this grow season, unfortunately. Just dried them out. And I really couldn't figure out what the deal was with a few of them, but quite a few of them are still with me. I've got a pretty sizable collection, and my favorites are still with me, so that's the most important. And then on this lower shelf, I've got some peperomia, what's left of them, my dwindling peperomia collection. I started out on my plant collecting journey. I was drawn to peperomia, and then I kind of lost interest in favor of these guys, Hoyas. And also I'm kind of getting into philodendron. I'll show you those in a second, but a lot of growth out of these Hoya in this space right here. This is a north-facing window, but I have an aspect grow light, and they are eating that up. They love the aspect light right here. So, Callista phyla is vining, a lot of new growth. I've got this beautiful Hoya Spa Kalimantan. Look at this leaf. I think this is one of the newer leaves. It's just huge. Love it. And then this is a Finlaysonii longleaf variety, and this is its most recent leaf, I think, or one of them. This whole little section here is doing phenomenal. Yeah, that's so cool. Then I've got my Mathilde, my Chouk, just a whole bunch of randos down here. So yeah, this is the jungle cacti. I've got some lipstick plants over here, some Gesneriaceae over here, cordifolia. Yeah, I like this little setup. I like it a lot better now. Oh, and you'll see scattered around, I have a few pitcher plants. And as you can see, they're doing pretty darn well. Mainly because I recently fed them some dead crickets that I found in my garage. And they are overjoyed about that. So yay. if you get some pitcher plants, I highly, highly recommend you actually feed them some bugs because they'll be into it. And then I've got my big, my heirloom oak leaf ivy over here, my cissus rhombifolia. This was my grandmother's. It's named after her. This is Betty, the grape leaf ivy. And Grandma Betty is still with us, and so is Plant Betty. Doing pretty good. This might be kind of hard to see, but I've got a couple of terrariums over on this shelf. I put terrariums over here because this is right by a radiator vent, and so obviously any like begonia type creatures that I put over here would not do well unless they were in a terrarium. So I have my Begonia amphioxus in here. This I got from Steve's Leaves, and I was super nervous about it, and it's actually doing quite well. It likes its terrarium setup. It's grown pretty significantly. It was a lot smaller. It was probably half this size when I got it. So that's cool. And then moving kind of, this is behind my workspace. It might be kind of hard to see with that light on, so I might have to go turn that off. But I do have some philodendron, some scindapsus, and then I have this cissus adenopoda, I believe. Yep, cissus adenopoda, also from Steve's Leaves, growing away on this little trellis here. I've started collecting cissus, I think. I've got 4 different varieties of cissus. That's one. I've got the rhombifolia that I just showed you. I have this little guy, which is not doing great, but still alive, my rotundifolia. You can do it, little buddy. I love these leaves. They're so thick and waxy. And then I have my newest cissus, which I'm going to show you in just a second. We're going to move over to the, really one of my favorite corners of my house right now. Let's go. All right, this is one of my favorite little spaces right now in my home. Ignore the mess on either side, but I just love this setup. I've got some decor, I've got some planty books. All of my planty gardening houseplant books are on this shelf now. Love that little setup. My Grow-A-Dam journals. And then I have my booze. And I also have some lipstick plants. Some Escananthus. Love all these guys. They're doing pretty well in this spot. I just repotted these. I had some smaller plants that I potted together and made this beautiful cascade of greenery here. I think this one is also called Rapunzel, if I remember correctly, this lipstick plant. Pretty cool. And then I have my little clochey greenhousey thing that I got from IKEA. It has my jewel orchids in it and some bird's nest ferns. I was going to use the plants in here to plant up my biorb, which I still have not done. But I'm kind of rethinking the design for that and the plants I want to put in there. So right now these guys are just kind of living a life in here, trying not to forget about them. And then over here I've got my newest cissus variety. See if I can do it justice. So this is my beautiful cissus discolor. There's my favorite leaf. And it actually, these guys don't do super well with shipping. And it shipped to me, it arrived at my house on a fairly cold day, and we're doing okay. We bounced back a little bit. These were all super wilty when I got them out of the box, but now we're just hanging out, living a life, trying to improve ourselves. So yeah. That is cissus number 4, I believe, in my collection. So cute little space right here. I love to look at it. I kind of wish it was my video backdrop. but I just don't have the setup. Okay, last but not least, I want to show you my philodendron wall. So this is my half wall in my living room. It separates my office space from my dining room space in my kitchen. And I've got some cool stuff on here. So this whole half wall right now, with the exception of that pitcher plant, are philodendron. And I've started investing in a couple of really neat varieties that, you know, I'm never going to be one of those people who can drop 3 digits on a plant. And I'm not saying that out of any place of judgment. I'm simply saying that out of a place of my wallet and what that looks like. So by all means, more power to you. Buy those expensive plants. But I mean, these guys were not super cheap. You know, they were getting up there. They were more than $50 for this red emerald, I believe, or no, for this painted lady. I think I paid more than 50 for. But it is what it is, guys. I just grabbed a couple that I had been wanting for a while. They'd been on a list for me that I thought would be fairly attainable. And they're doing really quite well. I've got some new growth on this red emerald here. So you can see there, new leaf. Painted lady. This girl just rolled out in my care since I've had her. And then I have this really cool Burley Marks Fantasy that I got from Steve's Leaves, which I'm super pumped with. I love these leaves. And I've got a new one coming out there too. So that's pretty cool. So I wanted plants that I felt I'd be able to care for without being scared that I would kill them and be in the hole financially. So these are the ones for me. I'm taking a break from them for a while. I think I have the ones that I want. But I also have this really neat Rhaphidophora decursiva, which I have recently repotted. And this whole vine here grew in my care. So I did have to repot it, and I had to get a moss pole for it. So that was a fun benchmark for me with this plant. This is a really cool one. I'm excited about this plant. So that's neat. I love this little space too. Oh, this cool looking thing. This is my moss fern, also known as a tassel fern. I had it for a little while, at least the full summer, and it's been growing, guys. I've got new growth. It's kind of extending out here. This was a lot smaller when I got it. It's affectionately known as Wembley, named after Fraggle, Fraggle Rock, one of the characters in that show, because I think it looks like a Fraggle, or it looks like it would exist in their world. So that is one of the few plants that I've actually named in my collection. Yeah, philodendron, etc. It's pretty cool. I really do love all of the plants in my home, honestly. I think that they are what I wanted. And I don't feel like it's too overwhelming at this point. I think that I am in the perfect place as far as plant care goes and the types of plants that I want to feature in my home and that I enjoy looking at and that brighten my space up for me. So ultimately, you guys, if that's what you are doing too, I am excited for you. And until next time, we've reached the end of the tour. So until next time, enjoy your plants, and I won't be a stranger, I promise. I will see you soon.